See you later. Harry Brighton left work as usual. The day was cloudy. He was walking to his car. Luckily for him, that day he had parked the car in an alley, which was always lonely. After walking a couple of blocks, he finally reached his destination. When he opened his car door, he heard some screamings. He thought it was a woman's voice. She looked up from him and saw a scene that shocked him. It was a woman being punched in the face by a man, apparently older than her. She had bruises on her lip wouldn't stop bleeding. Harry immediately closed the door and ran towards her, pushing the assailant away from her. The person in charge fled cowardly, without looking back.
Thank you very much for your help, sir. My name is Nicole Gilmart.
No problem, I'm Harry.
As a thank you, I would like to invite you to lunch.
Great. Hey, my number to stay in touch.
He happily returns to his car at the invitation of the girl he met and heads to his house. One Saturday morning, Harry was preparing for his meeting with Nicole. At 11 in the morning, he left his house and went to the place they had agreed on. Once in his car parked, he gets out and goes to the entrance of the house, and he proceeds to ring the bell.
Hello, I was waiting for you.
That meeting was the beginning of a long relationship. They both introduced their respective families, and months later they moved to Lambert Street. Together, I was a perfect relationship, or so I was believed. Nicole was a full-time nurse. She usually arrived at 9 p.m. She, unlike Harry, was part-time. Could and I was come home early, stay early, ever spend time together.
On the morning of February 14, Nicole heads to work, but she actually takes a different route. She was planning a Valentine's Day surprise for her boyfriend. She went to her neighbor's house to borrow her garden. They agreed without any problem. She was very excited and began to make the preparations, the decorations, the food, and other details.
When she realized that it was 5 p.m., she put on a nice dress, done the makeup, and finally her hairstyle. She wanted so much to look pretty in front of his boyfriend that she didn't realize that it was already 7 p.m. and quickly went home. As Nicole walked back to her house, she felt the cool and calm atmosphere, something very unusual for Lambert Street, but her instinct told her that it would be the perfect night and that nothing could go wrong. Or maybe just. When she approached the entrance, she noticed that all the lights were off. For a moment she thought that he was there, but seeing his car parked, she calmly entered. Despite the dark environment, she checked every part of the house and didn't find him. At that moment, she remembered that his boyfriend practiced mechanics in the garage as a hobby, and there she could find him, so she immediately went out to look for him.
Placing her hat on the couch, she felt a viscous leak, but because of the darkness, she could identify what it was, and she went into the garage. Upon entering, she felt her whole body paralyzed and her heartbeat intensified.
I can't believe it.
It was her boyfriend putting a human arm around her was a put of organs. Without holding back, Nicole lets out a scream that resounds through the garage, and without thinking twice, runs uncontrollability towards the house, the closest and safest place for her. Inside the house, she closed the front door upside down to her room, closed the door, closed the window, and closed immediately, pulled out her phone and tries to call the police. But it's a possibility for her. Reading on the screen of her phone, Nicole realizes that she does not have enough battery and she only sees the hair screens turn back. Something else worries her more.
Nicole looks at the clock on the wall and realizes that it was 10 p.m. Distressed by her situation, she begins to check the furniture in search of some defense weapon. Although she finds nothing, but she doesn't give up and go on. Looked under the bed, she immediately noticed that there is a notebook and she grabbed it, but it was no ordinary notebook. It had a worn look and was covered in blood everywhere. She decided to read the contents, but her curiosity doesn't stop her, and she opens it. The first thing she sees are photos of people with certain information about each one, and the strangest thing was a section called Prepared Dishes and Dishes to be Prepared. Nicole kept reading the notebook, and the further she went, the more familiar these dishes seemed to her. She remembered balut, a dish based on livers, also bolognese, a dish that Harry had prepared for his birthday, and piedmontesa, which it was a soup made of meat. That is when she finally realized that all those dishes were made of human flesh. The photos in the notebook were the victims that Harry had murdered, and all the information he had about them was because he was investigating them.
She also realizes why the most of the time she spent at home. She went to work in the garage. Now everything was connected and made sense to Nicole. It had all happened so fast that she didn't remember that Harry was still outside. That she once heard someone knock the door, and she says,
Honey, what she saw is not very since. Open the door, let me explain everything to you.
Leave me alone.
He kept insisting, but he had started opening her hand. It's not long before an axe crashes through the wooden door and into the room.
Wax, there is no one.
And his gaze shifts to the broken window in front of him. He looks up and notices a body lying there. He immediately pulls his phone out of his pocket and calls 911. Then goes down to the body and leaves his phone next to Nicole. Harry runs away and nobody knows anything about him. The ambulance arrived 15 minutes after what happened, and they try to help Nicole, but it's useless. Her body no longer responds. The only thing that remains as evidence is a phone that was next to her with the message, "See you later."